All right. Welcome to another episode of Big Moe's Kitchen. Today we're going to make tortilla soup. Some people call it taco soup, but I call it tortilla soup. And we're going to start with my favorite, which is ground turkey. I like to get 10%, which is very little fat. And you know my favorite, I like to use garlic, minced garlic. And I use grapeseed oil, which is high heat grapeseed oil, so that we have a high cooking temp here. You see I got it cooking, level 6 on my oven. We're going to let that cook till we get it nice and brown, fully cooked, because this is poultry. So I'm going to let that get going there. Now for my tortilla soup, I like to use low sodium black beans. And I also use my kidney beans. I like both colors. So I use a can of each. I'm going to have a can of original Rotel. And I'm also going to have a can of corn. And I'm going to put a whole chopped onion in there. I like the red onion. You can use yellow onion. I'm going to use a whole can of diced tomatoes. My recipe calls for 2 cans, but I like 1 can. If you like a lot of tomatoes, you can use 2. And this is the secret ingredient. I'm going to use some ranch seasoning. And also, I'm going to put taco seasoning in there. Alright, so while I have my meat cooking, we're going to go ahead and have another pot. Let's go ahead and get that pot going. We want to pour it in, and we're not going to filter this. Let's go ahead and pour our beans in there. See that? Go ahead and toss this can. The whole pot. The whole can. Okay. Undrained. Okay. Whole can of red beans. The black beans. Red beans. Whole can of Rotel. And see, like, it's already a lot of chili and tomatoes there. Whole can of diced tomatoes. Like I said, my recipe calls for 2, but I only like 1. And then you might want more corn. Okay. And I'm going to add just some of my onions here, because I like to add some onions later to the end. All right. And then one thing I didn't mention, we want to make sure that this thing doesn't dry out on us. And you can add some water. You can do water, but I like to put some chicken broth in here, okay? And that's what's gonna make this thing pop. So you can use chicken broth or you can use beef broth, whatever you want. Or you can just add plain water. Some people just put water in there, but I like to have mine a little flavorful, okay? And we're gonna give this a stir. And we're going to add our seasoning a little later, but you want to bring this thing to a boil to get it cooking, okay? And all you really got to do is heat this up, but you know you want to cook it for about 20 minutes, all right? So we just let that give a good cook and add the seasoning a little bit later. So I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to focus on getting our chicken nice and done. And you can add seasoning to this. Now normally I would probably put some Worcestershire sauce in here, but lately I've been doing some coconut oil, which is what you see here, some organic coconut oil. I'm going to add just a little splash of that. Just learning to add a little bit of different, flavors as I grow. A little Pacific flavor, Pacific Northwest. And then, of course, once we get this going, we'll drain this, or before I add it to my meat, to my pot here. Make sure it's poultry, so you want to make sure this is good and done before we add it to our soup. Okay. And like I said, I still have some onions here left that I'm going to add after I add my meat. And you can see this is going to be a really good mixture. If you want more corn or you want some more tomatoes, you can add that. But I like to add my meat to get the consistency that I want. Some people like more meat, some people want less meat. And this was like a pound of ground turkey. Now you can use ground beef, or you can use chicken, or whatever poultry you want. But I like turkey. You guys know that. Okay. And it calls for 2 tablespoons of taco season. You can use more. And of course, you're going to add your season to your taco mixture here. Not to your taco seasoning, onto your taco pot. Now, you will be adding your ranch to your pot. And I'm going to do that in just a moment. So you give me one moment. Let's let this cook up, and then I'm going to add my seasoning in just a moment. So be right back. See you in a moment.